In January 1947, Los Angeles was a rapidly growing city. The aftermath of World War II created a climate of ambition, media obsession, nightlife, and overwhelming urban anonymity. It was a place where thousands of young women arrived hoping for modeling work, film opportunities, or a fresh start. The glamour of Hollywood drew them in, while the city's darker streets swallowed many whole. Early in the morning on January 15, 1947, a woman walking with her child through a vacant lot in Leimert Park saw something pale lying in the grass. At first, she assumed it was a discarded mannequin. The body was white, posed and separated into two halves. The mother did not react with immediate fear because the scene felt staged rather than violent. Upon closer examination, she froze and understood what she was actually seeing. The mannequin was the body of a young woman, cut cleanly in half just above the waist. Her limbs were arranged with deliberate care, hands above her head, elbows bent at sharp angles, legs spread, and torso sectioned perfectly. There was no blood on the scene. The killer had washed both halves of the body completely before transporting them. The woman who found her immediately called authorities. Investigators arrived, stunned by the precision. They later learned that the victim was 22-year-old Elizabeth Short, a young woman who had moved through Los Angeles and San Diego in search of opportunity, modeling work, companionship, and foothold in Hollywood. The press had previously described her as striking in appearance, with jet black hair and bright eyes. When newspapers learned of the case, they adopted the nickname the Black Dahlia, a reference to a local film and to Elizabeth's fashion style. Elizabeth had not been murdered at the location where she was found. The absence of blood proved that the body had been drained and cleaned elsewhere before being placed deliberately on public display. This staging is central. Whoever committed the murder wanted discovery to be cinematic, unforgettable, shocking. Elizabeth's mouth had been cut from ear to ear, creating a grotesque permanent smile, sometimes called a Glasgow smile. Her skin had been sliced with surgical precision. Rope marks on her wrists and ankles suggested restraint. The body displayed bruising that indicated her death preceded the surgical separation. The autopsy revealed details far more disturbing than the public would ever know. Investigators rarely released specifics in order to prevent false confessions. The level of precision suggested someone familiar with anatomy, surgical procedures, or mortuary work. Cutting a human body perfectly in half using sharp, controlled instruments is not something an amateur accomplishes easily. Elizabeth had been living an unstable lifestyle for months, moving between hotels, apartments, temporary roommates, and acquaintances she barely knew. She spent time with servicemen, nightclub patrons, aspiring actors, and transient circles common to the Los Angeles post-war nightlife economy. She was not a sex worker, though rumors circulated after her death. She had simply lived close to poverty with limited family support. Her final confirmed sightings included interactions with acquaintances, a Navy man she spent time with, hotel staff, and passengers on local buses. She did not have a stable household. She drifted between downtown Los Angeles, Hollywood, Long Beach, San Diego, and Burbank. The brutality of her death attracted massive media attention. Newspapers competed aggressively to print details, sometimes exaggerating or inventing scandal. The press often portrayed Elizabeth as promiscuous or unstable. Sensationalism became part of her legacy, even though much of it was inaccurate or deeply unfair. One important detail: Elizabeth was alive for a period before death while restrained. Forensic analysis suggested she endured a prolonged and deliberate experience, rather than a quick killing. The killer's decisions appeared ritualistic. Police began an intense investigation. Over 150 suspects were questioned, from medical students to nightclub patrons to actors to ex-boyfriends. A number of individuals confessed falsely, a common pattern in sensational murders, yet none matched evidence convincingly. A week after the discovery, a letter arrived at the Los Angeles Examiner newspaper. The letter claimed authorship of the crime and included identification documents belonging to Elizabeth Short, personal papers, birth certificate fragments, and small belongings. The killer mailed these in an envelope washed in gasoline to remove fingerprints. The tone of the letter was confident, cold, and theatrical. The killer enjoyed the unfolding publicity. He wanted involvement to feel like a performance. One subsequent letter said, "Expect more," but no additional confirmed murders followed. Investigators considered the possibility that the murderer enjoyed the shock value more than the crime itself. The letters indicated psychological exhibitionism, not just violence, but communication. The killer wanted intellectual ownership of the murder. Some investigators focused heavily on medical professionals. The anatomical precision strongly suggested surgical skill. The way the body was drained, washed, bisected, and transported to a public place indicated planning, knowledge of anatomy, and emotional detachment. At the time, Los Angeles had many physicians, surgical interns, morticians, and anatomy students. Hospitals near downtown had easy access to embalming tools and anatomical equipment. The idea of a surgeon or a mortuary employee has persisted for decades. George Hodel, a wealthy physician and art enthusiast, became a compelling suspect decades later. Hodel hosted avant-garde gatherings in the Los Angeles elite scene and was fascinated by surrealist art that explored bodily transformation and dissection. He owned surgical tools. He had unusual philosophies about violence and social taboo. He lived only minutes from where the Black Dahlia body was discovered. In the late 1940s, Hodel was already under investigation for unrelated crimes. Police eventually performed a secret wiretap operation inside his home. During the surveillance, Hodel was recorded saying, "Suppose I did kill the Black Dahlia. They couldn't prove it now." The audio is ambiguous, but the timing of the statement is telling. Hodel eventually left the United States. Some believe he fled because social pressure was closing in. He was not formally charged for the Dahlia murder. Whether the recording was bravado or confession remains unresolved. The Black Dahlia case became more complicated as additional murders occurred in the region involving women found surgically mutilated, though investigators never confirmed a serial pattern. One theory argues that the murder was committed by someone in the film industry. Los Angeles mortuary workers sometimes assisted studios with theatrical death makeup and body preparation. A person with access to surgical space, time, and privacy would have easily carried out the murder without detection. Other suspects were investigated heavily: nightclub owners, ex-military surgeons, anatomy instructors, mortuary assistants, shallow opportunists, and men with violent histories. None were definitively proven guilty. Elizabeth Short's personality was often misreported. Sensational journalism portrayed her as a seductive figure drifting through nightclubs. Her actual life was lonely, unstable, and vulnerable. She was a young woman navigating post-war Los Angeles while chasing the faint possibility of a film career. Her vulnerability made her an easy target for predatory individuals in a city filled with anonymous strangers. Her death investigation represents one of the largest case files in LAPD history. Thousands of pages of interviews, forensic material, handwriting analysis, autopsy notes, neighborhood patrol logs, and witness descriptions were collected. Detectives worked relentlessly. But forensic science in the 1940s lacked DNA capability, advanced blood analysis, and psychological profiling tools. The crime scene was discovered in an era before modern homicide methodology. Had the murder taken place 50 years later, nearly every forensic trace would have been retrievable. Skin cells, fibers, material residue from the surgical blade, vehicle carpet hairs, and digital tracking. Today, the killer would almost certainly be identified. Elizabeth Short's murder has remained open not because investigators lacked effort, but because evidence was washed, transported, and staged with expert discipline. The killer effectively removed all forensic fingerprints. The surgical dissection erased blood patterns. Washing the body made biological identification impossible. Transportation destroyed spatial clues. Staging in a quiet lot eliminated witnesses. The media shaped her legacy more than investigators. The Black Dahlia became a cultural symbol. Mystery, violence, sexuality, glamour, and exploitation intersecting at once. For decades, countless crime novels, films, and documentaries used versions of her story to examine Los Angeles's moral contradictions. Even if George Hodel is accepted as the most likely suspect, the case remains officially unsolved. No single piece of physical evidence has closed the file. Walking through 1947 Los Angeles, the killer could disappear into the anonymity of the post-war boom with surgical confidence. Elizabeth Short was not a celebrity, criminal, or public figure. She was a young woman seeking belonging and hope in a restless city. Her death captured attention because of brutality, but her life was quiet and human. Behind sensational headlines stood a woman with aspirations, not scandal. The mystery is not only about who killed the Black Dahlia, but why someone staged her body with such theatrical intent. What emotional or psychological need fueled a crime so exacting, so controlled, so free from physical trace? If you stood in that vacant lot in 1947 before discovery, you would have seen nothing unusual. The killer left the body in a space without surveillance before widespread suburban expansion with confidence no passerby would interrupt. Whoever did this operated with medical ability, emotional detachment, and an obsessive need for artistic or symbolic effect. The Black Dahlia remains more than a homicide case. It is a rare example of a murder committed with surgical discipline, aesthetic staging, and a deliberate absence of physical evidence. It is a crime where the only remaining witnesses are the body, the press, and the silence of a city. What do you believe happened to Elizabeth Short? Was the killer a surgeon seeking anonymity? A mortuary expert? A stranger hunting vulnerable women? Or someone inside Los Angeles's elite social circle, protected by privilege and secrecy?